Hello, everybody, from wherever you are in the world. Oh, right away, I got a catastrophe going. Well, it's messes to the right of me and messes to the left of me, and here I am, stuck in the middle with you. Ha ha, but not really. I mean, I hope this is on. How can I tell? Huh. Well, I can look at this. Durr. I want to make sure my speaker's on because otherwise it's just not going to be good. What is my speaker? Uh, the thing of it is it could be needing to be charged. Bluetooth preference. I'm sorry, I did get my one thing done. I bet you any money now it's out of power. Oh, well, is that easily solvable right away or not? Sometimes cords are everywhere and sometimes they are nowhere or they're the wrong cord. It's so frustrating. Oh, which cord is this? That comes way up to here. That's a hell of a long cord. Oh, that's for that. Oh, well, let me try this another time. One more time, baby. I think it does shut off after a while, which is good because then you're saving, energy with your uh, situation. Your situation. Oh, that's just too weird over there. So, different people in my family, not that everything about this is going to be about my family, believe you me, but enough of it will be because they're very important to me. All, however, and albeit I have come to some conclusions today, some pretty interesting little conclusions, I must add, and I am Otter coming to you from my channel, Streaming Freedom. And it is awesome to be here today, this day, June 3rd, 2026. Who would have thunk? Well, I had a sort of an epiphany this this morning, last night, well, yesterday. It was, some of these epiphanies, they come gradually. Mine do, anyway, usually, because, you know, like Lego blocks, you can build onto them and you can figure out more and more. You get a little more information here, a little more information there, here and there, here and there. So, anyway, the thing that I figured out, I think, for myself, and hopefully, it might help somebody else. I don't know. I have a few different segments I want to jump into today about, but it is so good to be here. I mean, I had some hair issues today like crazy. You just can't even imagine the story I could tell you about uh, my hair tattooation. Oh, I had it just about perfect because I'm doing this. I want to let my waves come through. So I found uh, some products that, well, I learned something. If you look at the back of a bottle, that's not a good one. And then a lot of times they'll have some different languages too. So that's not everything about this bottle. There's about four different languages um, on the back, as well as directions and instructions and yes and yet and the other thing. But I learned from all of my YouTube watching on products, on especially hair products, that one of the most important things you can do when you're exploring. If you do like I do, I like to really explore ingredients. I try to get the stuff that will be better for mostly my hair, but if it helps my scalp, great too, also. Well, and the biggie thing is just the less ingredients, the better. There should just be one little paragraph of what is in something for ingredients. Like, coconut and shea oil, and in here, and it's really hard to read because I don't have my heavy duty readers on. They're hydrators. Is that, am I saying that? Hydrators. They're hydrators, and they nourish. Okay, so that part of it. Instructions. Defines curls, prevents frizz. Well, I can't see where it says ingredients. Okay, so, and here, just as I said, there's one little paragraph, and they're really hard to read too, let alone in their technical terms, I can barely read them. But, they got water in here, and they got, some oils. Some of these words, I don't know. I'm not going to read them if I don't know them because I don't want to look them up either. And it's very low fragranced, very light fragranced. So, and in the end, I can't even read that either. It's just, I don't have my right glasses on. I think that's in another language. But so the stuff, there's practically nothing, anything in it. Anything, nothing. I mean, and it's a foaming mousse. And all I did was wash my hair yesterday, and I put it in and let it dry. Well, I did have a little, re-scrunch today. I did, but look at how soft it is. It's like, you know, it's not sticky at all. You can just, I just don't like my bangs right now because I'm in the middle of, well, growing them out and then deciding, yeah, if I really want to do that or not. I'm pretty sure I will because I would just love for one day. I don't know, have to. Yeah, yeah. See, that happens sometimes. I get so excited. I get speaking in other languages, but I like having a lot of different options to do with my hair what I want to. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. So that was a big part of my epiphany, the last part about our stories. Oh, I can't tell you how good that is. Fresh cup, second cup without collagen. I put collagen in my coffee one time in the morning every day because I think it's probably helpful for my bones and muscle mass. I'm pretty sure is what I read. Anyway, for sure bones. Okay, so stories. I want to talk about stories today because we all have the stories. Oh my God. And I am one for sure that when I think I got a good story to tell, I like to vamp it up. I like to make it a little juicier, you know. I want to get some laughs. I do have a somewhat of a comedic side to me. I mean, nothing really I can brag about or whatever, uh, maybe win any medals for, but I just like comedy. Whether I like it coming from other people just as much as from myself. As long as, you get that comedic feel good feeling. It's just, it's akin to being happy. It really is. It really, they go hand in hand. In the storylines of my life, anyway. So the reason I say this because I have, with my this epiphany I've recently had, come to the conclusion that I think that what it really boils down to, and I have known things along these lines a certain way before, but in a certain way before. Then things change and ideas change and things get seen in a different light. You kind of like, you get more of the whole truth of the truth. And I think even some of this came to me from, true, well, if it is true crime, even their stories, when they're doing that on YouTube, they're sprucing them up. They're probably, I don't know what they do. I don't know how they do what they do at all. But I mean, it's all stories, and it's stories, and some of the stories are sad, and some of the stories are just tragic. Some of them, I don't like to watch the ones that are just all out and out disgusting. I can't do disgusting very well or for very long. That's for sure. I might stumble onto something and then I start seeing things too graphic and then I just turn the channel. It's just as easy as that. And that is the other part of the epiphany is that all the stories we have in the world and from the past and real or imagined, there are storybooks full, libraries, now, in the cloud, online, wherever you go. There's more stories than ever that you can read if you want to read them. And they can be a good escape. Who hasn't enjoyed, typically as a woman, a good romance novel every great once in a while in her life? Or just a really great whodunit, or just, there's many different genres, but if they're well written enough, you can't peel away from them. And I've had those kinds of books in my life, and I literally have felt like, I wanted to be part of that story so bad. Where could I interject myself somewhere so that I could be in this book, the story as well? Because it just felt like, it was all it was all well about me anyway, however you say that. It was just as good all, yeah, I don't remember that saying, but anyway, yeah, there would be so many things, or they were just things that I really deeply felt that were missing in my life. And even if the story wasn't a very good one, it was sure as hell better than my life. I would think and have thought, um, with a kind of story like that, yeah, you can get kind of lost in it. It's a wonderful thing, and it's a beautiful thing, and it can really teach you a lot about yourself. Like, yeah, it can help you realize what is it that I think, I'm missing out of so much in life or on in life. And there's this crazy side. Well, so anyway, even your hair has its own story. Mine sure does. But so, oh gosh, and I've written stories and told I've spun many a good yarns at stay overnight parties or little bashes with friends, typically cousins and whatever. Just and anybody who can understand that concept just in itself can understand the rest of what I'm going to say is how, and really who I want to be talking to right now are the bigwigs. The bigwigs with all the money they could ever imagine that they could need to live on or have to live on, and to do whatever they want to do in life. See the whole world, go everywhere, dig down, dig deep, do live every day like a king or a queen or whatever, you know. They're in the private sector even. So they don't even have to try to put on a good act at all. And many of them don't. They're crude. They're some of them can really be quite crude, and some of them, even if they are some form or lineage of royalty, are well, they're that way too. They just have to hide it more because they got to put on the fancy royal picture. Well, they have to be upstanding for the crown. Ooh, I should get my crown out. I have a crown. I have two crowns. One's my sister's. We did Halloween one year, and we went as I was a queen and she was my princess. Well, it was kind of fun. It was so cold though. Well, anyway, that's another story. There's another story. Now, anything is a story if it doesn't come out exactly 100% true to the actual factual scientific even absolute truth. They say there are no absolutes. Well, who are they? That's someone with their own stories in their own minds, in their own heads. The truth is that if it isn't the whole truth, it's not the truth. It's just as simple as that. You know, why do you think we get tempted so many times? Well, I don't know if it's temptation, whatever it is for anybody, but we get the feeling of, well, I'll speak for myself, is if I'm feeling threatened somehow, I will go into you know, all of a sudden I feel like I gotta be totally incognito. I gotta, kind of hide, ditch, and dodge, and, uh, just skivvy around. I don't know. That's the right word. It was back in my day. Now I don't know. Now they have different terms for everything. The terminology. The stories are all still different, and the terminology is different as well. A lot of it. Well, my biggest point to the bigwigs, I don't know. If you like being called that or not, let me know. It wouldn't hurt me in one way, shape, or form if I was a bigwig and someone called me a bigwig just because I had gobs of money. Or, terminology, there again. How much does it really matter? It really doesn't. It's just like any other terminology when, well, so okay, then just go from there. So you all have your stories too. Oh, I worked so hard to get to where I am, and I have so much because I worked so hard to get to where I am, and yada yada yada. And they have their whole story, their whole life of their story to tell if they would want to. Oh, kind of bad. For their well, so I get it. That's what I'm referring to. Is that you get your whole life story, parts of it that I'm sure you could possibly prove without a doubt happened, and parts that would be kind of sketchy. You just can't remember every exact little thing. We would have to film our whole lives every day in the bathroom, even if we would want the whole story to be told. Tester, tester, tester. Well, she knows who she is. Anyway, to and then there's those people that you do really trust, and they do really trust you. But even with their stories, we have to be careful that we don't, overcut, undercut, whatever, in any part of the situation because I still have my story. I have my story, and it is my life, and it is what I choose to function out of today, even if it's just for today. As a Oh, that's another old saying. I don't want to always be saying the old sayings, but the point is that, again, for you bigwigs and super intellects, which many have found out recently, quite recently, how dispensable they were, which is a gosh darn crying shame, in my opinion. I mean, I'm so glad I'm not part of that story. I'm so glad I'm a peon. I mean, not proverbially, or how do you say that? Don't dissect that. I usually say a peasant because I don't mind just being a peasant. But I'm a peasant with a few little flickering lights of freedom yet to this God given day. And we're going to get to that part of the story too. God given. Okay, now there's another story. There's a story, there's a great big book, there's a lot of great big books about the different God stories, and even from what we consider ancient civilizations and so on and so forth. Stories. Okay, so why are you bigwigs so worried about a simple story? Why are you bigwigs so worried about? I don't think it's the stories in themselves that really threaten any of you whatsoever. I think it's the laws, as it is for every one of us. Nobody wants to get into any trouble for doing this, that, or the other thing, or whatever you might have experienced getting in trouble for. You know, it took me a couple times in front of the judge to figure out this is real. It's real. So, and that's my story. That's part of my life. And somehow I jumped into that storyline, into that book, because I wasn't living the true nature and design, potentially, or I think just the plain and simple story of that is is supposed to be for me in my life. And it wasn't never meant to be complicated. I didn't know that. Nobody taught me that anywhere. Not in school, that's for damn sure. They really complicated my story. But I gotta finish up with this other part for the big wigs first. So if these are just all stories, about all these different gods, then why don't we just let the stories play out? Why don't we just let the various gods in every story, however it is written, to just duke it out on their own? Let them duke it out on their own. I remember when I used to think that a lot about war. Why don't the ones who want to fight and have these wars, why don't they just duke it out? But that's never going to happen. Um, but surely you can be a big enough person. You can certainly see the logic in this line of thinking. It's just let the stories play themselves out. You know, you don't have to be dilly, well, I don't know what the right word would be. You don't have to be forcing anything into those books that have already been written and are finished. There's nothing you can add to them. There's nothing you can take away. There's nothing you can do about it. What has been written has been written. You cannot change the story. And that goes just as much for myself. I realize in my own family, and this is dipping quite a ways away from, not really, because in the story of my life, I'm realizing more and more how much certain family people that I know in my family, that they don't want anything to do with my story anymore. It's like, my story got old or boring to them, or I did, or whatever the case. And I'm perfectly fine with that. I am happy where I'm at. Excuse me. Sure, I wish I had at least two other things. Three, really. Three. But it's nothing that's I'm gonna let take away from my story. My story is good. It's getting better all the time because I'm letting it. And I'm letting other true and serious writers of their own lives who have learned to stay within the lines of their own lives, their own stories, to help me see the reality of that, how that works, and how it is just the way it is. It is what it is, and it ain't what it ain't, and it's never gonna be what it's never gonna be. And that's the darndest of the darndest truths. So I don't know. I hope that helps somebody. I know it sure has helped me a lot. Um, it really takes away that feeling and that urge to wanna, go out and get my sticky fingers in on something. Try to help somebody to either see the light or to be more careful, live more carefully, because I don't want to deal with anything bad happening to them. Well, that's not my place. That's not my story. They're all adults, and I just say bless them all, as I say to everyone in this world, even your bigwigs. And I think it could be a crucial thing for anyone to hopefully figure out for themselves. And I didn't want to burst anybody's bubble. I'm gonna tell you this: I am going to a shindig towards the end of the month. If it's meant to be in my story, you can only plan the plan. You can't plan the results. You can't make anything happen, but I have the plan. And the plan is to go to this shindig, and I'm going to call it a shindig because I like that word. And I think it's going to be whatever it's going to be because there's going to be, I don't know how many people there. They're all going to, it's going to be all these stories running around. And, you know, the most important story of anyone's life is their youth. You can find out the most about anyone is from their youth. That can tell you the most about any person and why they are the way they are, why they do what they do, primarily, if you're that interested. I don't know. I'm a little bit of a sleuth. I'm a little bit of a personality sleuth, but I'm not a personality snob because I like to get just as downright goofy and silly and nerdy and whatever as the rest of y'all. Y'all. Well, that's all I got for today. So, peace, love, joy, and tons of righteous fun. I hope you have a good one. Please let me know what you think about your story. If you have any questions or anything to add to this, it would be great because I think that this could go a lot further. It's like handing off the football to someone else. Now you got to take it down the line further and deal with it. All right. Bye for now. And dun, 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 dun.